Hello again, I'm Simon, and for this week I'm doing two videos on contours. So this one's going to be a slightly more advanced video, and I'm going to assume that you know what a hill looks like on the map, but not too much more than that. So the first thing, of course, is why are contours more useful to read? So they're more common than tracks and fences. So red courses and orange courses even will require you to be able to read them if you want to do really well at competitions. And what can you do with contours? So as well as knowing sort of what shapes to expect of the landscape, because you can read ahead and look at those, you can actually use them like a linear feature. So you can turn a ridge, you can follow a ridge like with a track, or you can follow a series of hills on a platter map like a track, or a fence, and you can use them like attack points or stepping stones. You can use them as attack points or stepping stones as well. So first we'll have a look at one example of sort of forming your own linear feature out of a series of contour features. So if we just come across to 9 to 10 here, you could just take a bearing that way and hope you hit it. But if you want to be a little bit more accurate and have to focus less on exactly getting it right, you could build your own linear feature. So I see there's a line of hills here, and so I can actually follow those along. So I can come up through here and then run alongside these. I know that as long as I'm seeing them, looking up, I'm looking for this line of hills. As long as I'm seeing those, then I can keep following them. The same thing also holds true for spurs and re-entrance. We'll go into those a little bit later in the video. The other thing you can do is use them like as attack points or stepping stones. So if I'm taking a bearing from 1 to 2, which is what I did, the first thing that stands out to me is this really big hill next to 2. The second contour, so it's even bigger. And so what that means is that as I'm taking a bearing, I don't need to be super accurate. You know, if I come miles off out here, I can see the hill. I come back up. And then if I come miles off this way, not quite that, not that bad, I can still see the hill. And come around in. And so being able to read that hill lets me know what I'm doing and how to sort of narrow my bearing rather than having to focus on, am I hitting exactly this, like am I going to hit that track junction? That's not useful. Am I going to hit here? That's out the way. You know, I'm looking for track bends, that kind of thing. And so another question is, how do I deal with an excess of contour detail? So this is Scott's Ferry. It's like bits of Waterhill. It's largely flat. There's a couple of hills there. And so each particular hill, each individual hill stands out. But sometimes you'll get bits with lots of contours. If I scroll down here to, we'll use 6 to 7. No, we'll use 4 to 5, or 3 to 4. First of all, there's a lot of contours happening here. So how can I read them? And the answer is sometimes you can't. But what you can do is make them legible. So the easiest way to do that is to look for combinations of things. So as I'm running along, for example, I end up on a hill. I can look for things like, are the two knolls on top of it reasonably far apart? Does it stop just before this track? In which case I know I'm on this hill rather than this hill, or vice versa. Now if I've taken a bearing and I've come to a hill which has a re-entrance in the north end of it and two knolls really close together, I've combined all those features to then, if I stop and go, oh, I'm lost, where am I? I can identify this hill here. And you can use those as you're running as well. You know, if you're looking for something more obvious than that. You know, I'm looking for one that stops just short of the track and sort of is kind of square at the end. Well, that's that hill. So you can use that. So I'm now going to look at a bit more of a complicated map. Don't worry too much. Most maps have a lot less contours than this. Without further ado, Timu Road. So the first thing that stands out to me, of course, is so many contours. But once you sort of looked at it and you accept, you know, there's a lot of contours there, what can I use to help me navigate off this? What's the obvious thing to stand out? First thing, there's even more contours than normal. That's going to stand out from around the rest of the map. So that area, even bigger than that, you should be able to see that hill and know where that is. So if I'm navigating towards it or around it, like 8 to 9, I can use that hill as sort of a reference possibly. The other thing is, if the entire map's covered in contours, then the bit that isn't stands out. And so there's that area there, which is a really nice bit that stands out. And I'll be able to know I'm there because it's flat. If I look around the rest of the map, it's all covered in contours, so that, almost all, it's not flat here. So that stands out to me. And while, because it's not a hill, it might be harder to see from below. It's pretty easy to see from above, and you'll know you're there. So the other thing to look at is if you've got a map that's mostly hills, that's a lot of the Wellington maps, and again sections of Woodhill, this is Woodhill, you'll need to use re-entrance and spurs. So what's the re-entrant look like on the map? Well, it's going to look like, for example, here. You're going to have lots of contours that sort of curve in. So again, apologize for my drawing. It'll look like that somewhere. Actually, can I do it nicer? There we go, that's a re-entrant. That's more like what you'll actually see. And so you've got these re-entrants sort of sticking, with contours sticking in, so that tells you you're looking at either a re-entrant or a spur. And so if you just run up the bottom of that, you can follow it like a track. It's pretty easy. Now, most re-entrants are a little bit more complicated than that. So if I look at this particular one, if I'm trying to get to 10, it goes like that, then it goes like this, and the next contour goes like that. A bit there. And so if I come at the bottom, I have to make sure I take this right hand fork into where I'm looking, into the temperature I'm looking for. The other question I've heard a lot is, how do I know what's up or down? And so if we go have a look back at Scott's Ferry, there's some pretty simple answers. You know, there's not a lot of contours here. So the first thing I'd look for is, well, most obvious way is, are there these little brown lines sticking out somewhere? So one there and one there. So if I draw over this depression here in black, like that, there's always two lines sticking in. And those little they're what we call tag lines, and they always point down the hill. And so if you see those, you automatically know which way is up and which way is down. Sometimes as you're running, you can miss that, so you use other things as well. So by default, I would assume that any enclosed circle is the top of the hill unless I've seen otherwise. So if I see this, so I would see this lump here and assume it's a hill. See that lot of lumps up here and assume that's another hill. There's that, and what you can also use is if you see a cliff on the side of a hill. I know my artistry is fantastic. Like that. The thick line at the top of the hill is always up, and the bit at the bottom, the sort of the tag line, the end of these sort of feet, are always down the hill. So you can use that. That works for flatter maps, and it works for steeper maps as well. But the other trick you can use, this one is obvious when you see it and use it, but might not be so obvious if you don't really think about it, is where's the top of the hill on the map? So this course here, we zoom out a little bit, this bit here is all one hillside. So where's the top of the hill? And as you're running, if you're running on the course, you'll know pretty quickly it's up here. Now if we zoom in a bit, ooh, top of the hill, up here. So everything going towards it, so that way or that way or that way, is going up. And everything moving away from it, just like that, or like that, is going down. So that means when we see a reentrant we see something we want to follow, we're not sure if it's a reentrant or a spur, like up here, I'm coming close to the end, coming out the blank here, I'm going to follow this thing up or down. Is it going towards or away from the top of the hill? Well, it's going towards it. So that means that this end is up, and so I'm going to be going up a reentrant, because they're all bulging in towards the top of the hill. Whereas if they'd be bulging away, like 14 to 15, well, let's have a look at the contours here. They're all bulging out away from the hill. So when I'm following that line, I'm going down the hill. So that's the basics of things. So I hope that this has helped you sort of figure out how to use contours a bit better and understand them, and just let you know just some of the tricks you can use if you're confused about what's up or down, or how to do a leg. You know, maybe next time you look out for, you'll spot, are all the contours going bent like that? In that case, it's a reentrant. Can I run up that? Can I follow that? That's the kind of thing I hope you guys look out for in the future. I hope this video has been useful to you. I'll do another video next week. But till then, happy orienteering, and good luck with the hills.